Okay, we talked a little bit about fixed fights this morning in boxing, so I think it's very relevant that we now talk about fixed fights in the UFC. How do you fix a fight now in boxing? You take a guy who works too hard, who doesn't have boxing as his first priority, and you put him in with a guy who has the luxury of training all day, and you know what's going to happen because very much the sport is physical. You know, what are your attributes, what are your abilities, and whatnot. So there's tons of those journeymen who just fight in boxing because they love it, and they love the feeling of it, and they love doing it, whatnot. MMA is obviously a little different, but how do you fix an MMA fight? Well, you take a fighter's style and you match him appropriately, and you take guys that are on the upside and the downside, right? And so how do you get Conor McGregor a win in the White House lawn? Well, you put him against Michael Chandler. Chandler knows he's on the way out. He just lost to Paddy Pimblett. He knows that he's easily lured into a brawl very quickly. Conor McGregor, what's Conor's best attributes? Conor is one heck of a kickboxer. And why is he one heck of a kickboxer? Well, he's a kickboxer in MMA. You see a lot of his karate stances that he uses, very, very wide sometimes. He's able to do things you can't really do in traditional kickboxing, but you can do them in MMA. You know, and I think that Conor's striking is absolutely devastating. He gets on a roll. Conor's also devastating against littler guys, right? Like, that's why he beat up Alvarez. It's, you know, why at featherweight he was so devastating. He was this giant guy going down. My guess is he'll probably have this fight at 170, right? Who wants to make 155 again? But listen, the White House thing is just a show. And it's a show for Dana, a show for Donald. And, you know, for the fight game fans like you and me, obviously, if you're listening to this channel, it's a great thing. Listen, man, I am thrilled that fighting is taking its place right there. I remember when we were barely hanging on to network TV, right, with boxing, and it was on once a month if you were lucky. No longer the case, right? We just recently had a weekend with no UFC, which felt like a breather for a minute for me, right? Wow, I could rest for a second. But fighting is so prevalent today that it's actually not something that people look down upon. I was looked down upon when I was a fighter. People made fun of me. What are you going to be a fighter for? Now everybody's making their pro debut. Actually, that was more like 2008, 2009 when every bouncer at every bar was making their pro debut next week. But look, let's just be happy we got a show on the lawn. A show is better than having not enough, right? Like, we got McGregor Chandler. Hopefully McGregor runs through him. That's the script. That's what he's supposed to do now. All he's got to do is train and go do it. Everybody, like and follow for more on the Fight Game.